Has joined us here in Salon 1 here in Uptown Charlotte. Jim Boeheim is with us for the next 12 minutes or so. Coach, we've got microphones on both sides of the room, so we'll open it up for questions. First question will come to our left, first row.
Dan Tortora, Wake Up Call, DT.com. Coach, Frank Howard's talked a lot about a new era, a new chapter for him. Just what you can say you've seen from him, and he's really spoken about confidence and how he's grown there. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I think that Frank is a player that I kind of compare a little bit to Scoop Jardine, who struggled his first couple years, and then he had 2 great years for us and took us to the tournament and to a lot of wins. I think Frank struggled a little bit in his first 2 years. He's shown signs of what he could do, actually more signs than Scoop did at the same time. So I think Frank's ready. I think he'll have a big year this year. Very confident in him.
Staying on the left side, Coach, very back, camera stand.
Coach Mike Lissette from WDRB in Louisville, Kentucky. How strange is it going to be for you to look over on a Louisville sideline this year and not see Rick Pitino there?
It'll be difficult. You know, we're obviously, as everybody knows, the first guy I hired in coaching when I got the head coaching job, and we've been friends for 40 years. I have nothing but the utmost respect for him. I think he's one of the all-time great coaches in college basketball. He's as good as anybody I've ever coached against, and you know, the game will miss him and what he brings to the game.
Coach, from the podium here, someone in the room earlier today asked Tyus Battle, is it boring practicing the 2-3 zone all the time? And Ty actually referred to the idea that you've been practicing some man-to-man, so we might see that this year.
Yeah, we might. Anything's possible in this world.
And with that note, we'll take it to the right side of the room, 5th row.
As far as it being boring, it's one of the things that people have not quite grasped yet. I've talked about it, but it's much easier to teach zone defense than it is man-to-man. Everybody thinks that, well, it's hard to learn that. I can teach it to a high school team, junior high school team, in about 2 hours. So I hope I can teach it to our guys in 4 weeks or so. But it's man-to-man is much more complicated, much harder to learn, many more different types of ways you play pick and rolls. There's 6 different ways to play a pick and roll. There's different ways to switch, not switch. You know, there's so many different parts to man-to-man. Much harder to teach, much harder to learn, much easier to learn how to play a zone. And our zone's a little more complex, so it takes a little bit more than a couple of days, but not that much longer.
So right side, 5th row seated.
Jim Allen Saunders from Pittsburgh Sports Now. What made Geno Thorpe an attractive player for you to pursue as a grad transfer, and what have you seen from him so far?
You know, we really looked at that position. We had 3 guards coming back, 2 with experience and a freshman. So, you know, if you have one guy hurt, you really can't complete a season. So we knew we had to get a guard. With Geno, we found a guy that can play the point and play the 2. So that was a big part of the decision to go after him. He is a much better defensive player than I knew going in. I knew he could score, but he's been a very good defensive player in practice in both man-to-man and zone. And he's been a good guy to have on our team. He's been a very positive influence. He's missed about the last 8 days with an ankle sprain. We hope to get him back tomorrow. But he's been a really a nice addition to our team. And the difference for our team is we have more experience in the backcourt with him and Frank and Tyus starting every game last year. And that really is a strength, one of the strengths of our basketball team.
Coach, all the way up the aisle to your left, seated.
Ryan Leonard, ACC.com. Coach, Tyus Battle and Frank Howard both confirmed that they think the team is underestimated as a whole going into the season. Would you agree with that? And what aspects of your team's game will surprise those that underestimate them?
Well, I hope that every player and every team that's picked below first in the league thinks they're underestimated. You know, we all want to be the best team, and I want our players to think that way. And so that's good. I'm glad they're thinking that way. I don't pick where our team is going to be. I think we have the potential to be a good basketball team. I think we can definitely be better defensively this year than we were last year. We're kind of a middle of the league type defensive team, and we're used to being in the top 2 or 3 teams defensively. So we think we can be better defensively. Offensively, we lost a lot of weapons. We were a really good offensive team last year, particularly in the league. But we need to get better in that area to be a good team. But I think defensively we have a chance to be a much better team.
Coach, all the way in the back, camera stand almost in line of sight with the exit sign.
How you doing? Darius Joshua, WSIR in Syracuse. Coach, you bring Frank and Tyus down here. What sort of leadership have you seen from them in practice, and kind of how have they been sort of directing some of those new faces on the team?
I think they've been very good. I think obviously when you have freshmen and sophomores in the front line, if you're going to have an experienced part of your team, backcourt or front court, it's, obviously it's better in both, but if you have backcourt experience, I think that's better. But they've been good. They've really set a good example. We have a good group. We have guys that are doing what they need to do every day. I think the pivotal thing for this team is our 4 freshmen came in for the whole summer, which we don't usually ask for. We don't ask freshmen to do that. We don't expect them to do that. But they came in for the whole summer, and I think it really helped them. I think they're much further along than you would expect freshmen to be. And I think that'll be important for our team. But Frank and Tyus have been very good every day in terms of the leadership of our basketball team.
Coach, back to your left with Dan in the front row.
Coach, Frank said earlier today that he believes the team's going to run through Tyus Battle. Just what you can say about the importance of Tyus as a sophomore on this team and as a leader.
Well, he's very important. There's no question about that. But I think to have a good offensive basketball team, you've got to have balance. You've got to have at least 3 guys that can score consistently, and you have to get contribution from whatever 2 other guys are out there in some way, shape, or form. And but certainly Tyus is going to be a key guy for us.
Coach, to the right, standing up in the back here.
Pete Iacobelli, Associated Press. Jim, I apologize if this has been asked before, but how much has your routine changed without Mike Hopkins there?
It's interesting. Mike was with me for a long time, and I've been very fortunate through the years, starting out with Rick Pitino, and I've had so many great assistant coaches, and Mike's certainly one of the best I've had. I think, but the way we recruit, each assistant takes a group. So one guy doesn't do it all or oversee it. So it didn't change really our recruiting at all, because Adrian had been doing it and Jerry had been doing it. So we had 2 experienced guys who had their areas. And then Alan came in, and Alan recruited for the last 6 years in college. So we have 3 experienced recruiters, and that's what I'm concerned most about as a coach. And then in our practice times, Mike worked with the centers, but Adrian worked with the forwards, and Jerry worked with the guards. So that never changed. None of that changed. Mike had his compartment, and Alan and I have been kind of working with the big guys a little bit together. Because we have 2 young big guys. But so that didn't change too much. Obviously, our defense isn't changing, and I've always coached the offense. So we really don't have a lot of change. And I think that we've been very fortunate to keep so much continuity with our assistants over the years, and I think it's really helped our preparation, our recruiting.
Anything else for Coach? Coach, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Good luck. North Carolina due up next.